As Formula One enjoys its summer break amidst Red Bull and Max Verstappen's 2023 dominance, a potential storm looms in the horizon. Strap in and stay tuned because we've got breaking news that could shake the very foundation of the sport. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay in the know. The news that has come to light is that Felipe Massa, through his lawyers, has begun legal action against Formula One and the FIA for damages and financial loss for what he considers a conspiracy that denied him the 2008 Drivers' World Championship. He was a Ferrari driver at the time and finished second to McLaren's Lewis Hamilton by 1 point in one of the most dramatic finishes in history, only perhaps, second only to Abu Dhabi 2021 between Hamilton and Verstappen. As reported by motorsport.com and Reuters, the Brazilian driver's lawyers made an 8-page submission to Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali and FIA President Mohammed Sulayem in the form of a letter before claim, which is a letter sent from a claimant to a potential defendant, which sets out the details of the claim that is being advanced and may be pursued in court. This type of presentation is a required formal legal notice before court proceedings in the UK and states that Massa has been the victim of a conspiracy committed by individuals at the highest level of F1 together with the FIA and Formula One management. To understand the reason behind this story, we have to go back 15 years and remember what happened at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, the 15th round of 18 races scheduled for that season. Massa arrived at the Marina Bay track 1 point behind Hamilton in the championship fight and took pole position in his Ferrari F2008. On Sunday, he moved well when the lights went out and was leading the race until an accident on lap 17 by Renault driver Nelson Piquet brought out the safety car and the leaders went to the pits to refuel and change tires. Ferrari made a mistake at the pit stop as a mechanic gave Massa the order to go while he still had the fuel hose attached, which meant the Brazilian had to stop in the pit lane and subsequently had to serve a drive-through for the unsafe release, meaning he finished 13th out of 14 cars in the checkered flag. In a Grand Prix he could have easily won. But the honours went on to Piquet's Renault teammate Fernando Alonso, with Hamilton finishing third after the Spaniard capitalised on Piquet's accident to move up the order because he had already completed his pit stop just before the incident. The sequence looked suspicious then, but the season moved on and concluded with the dramatic championship decider in the final round in Brazil, where Massa won his home race but lost the championship by 1 point after Hamilton overtook Timo Glock in the final corner to finish 5th. Once Piquet was sacked from Renault during the 2009 season, he revealed that had intentionally crashed that day in Singapore at the direct request of Renault bosses to benefit Alonso in the quest for victory. This sparked the scandal known as Crashgate, which earned Renault a suspended disqualification, while team bosses Flavio Briatore and Pat Symonds were banned indefinitely in the case of Briatore, although this was later overturned, and for 5 years for Symonds. At the time, Massa, still a Ferrari driver in Formula One in 2009, attempted to have the Singapore Grand Prix result cancelled, but FIA rules indicated that this was impossible because, according to FIA's International Sporting Code, no season results can be changed once the FIA awards ceremony has taken place at the end of the year. So what changed now to make Massa and his lawyers go to Formula One and the FIA 15 years after the event? Well, Bernie Ecclestone opened his mouth. The former F1 Supremo was quoted last March in an interview on F1 Insider, a German website, as saying that he knew during the 2008 season that Piquet's accident in Singapore had been intentional and that Max Mosley, then FIA president, also knew. We decided not to do anything for now. We wanted to protect the sport and save it from a huge scandal. That's why I used angelic tongues to persuade my former driver Nelson Piquet to keep calm for the time being, Ecclestone said. Back then, there was a rule that a World Championship classification after the FIA award ceremony at the end of the year was untouchable. So Hamilton was presented with the trophy and everything was fine. We had enough information in time to investigate the matter. According to the statuses, we should have cancelled the race in Singapore under these conditions. That means it would never have happened for the championship standings, and then Felipe Massa would have become world champion and not Lewis Hamilton. On hearing Ecclestone's words, Massa said he would analyze the situation to understand if he could do anything legally, which has now resulted in his submission to Formula One and the FIA. Ecclestone, 92, was contacted by Reuters in the last few hours and claimed he could not remember saying the quotes attributed to him. Meanwhile, the letter submitted by Massa's lawyers states, Simply put, Mr. Massa is the rightful 2008 Drivers' Champion, and F1 and FIA deliberately ignored the misconduct that cheated him out of that title. Mr. Massa is unable to fully quantify his losses at this stage, but estimates that they are likely to exceed tens of millions of euros. This amount does not cover the serious moral and reputational losses suffered by Mr. Massa. The letter goes on to say that if there is no significant response within 2 weeks, the lawyers are instructed to start legal proceedings. It's not yet entirely clear whether Massa's intention is financial compensation or also to change the outcome of the championship, which counts today as one of Hamilton's 7 titles. However, it's also not certain that the Brazilian has a legal route given the rules governing Formula 1 and the FIA. He could perhaps try something in the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but the FIA statute says this court can only get involved in anti-doping matters. It will be interesting to see how this story develops, because if Massa succeeds, then it could set a dangerous precedent for Formula 1. After all, if Hamilton is stripped of the 2008 championship, then he might ask to review the result of Abu Dhabi 2021. So everything is at peace in Formula 1? Maybe we have to think again about that. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to The Grid Report, where we bring you the latest F1 updates.